Hi guys, welcome back. In today's video we're covering everything coming in DeltaForce Season 10, including the new operator N2, new weapons, the new operations map AZ3, the new warfare map Coliseum, new items and inspections, all upcoming cosmetics, quality of life improvements, upcoming collaborations, and much more. I've added timestamps for every section, so feel free to jump straight to whatever interests you the most. Let's start with the new engineer operator, N2, also known as Gabriel Mercier. One interesting thing about his passive ability is that it has a hidden effect. Whenever you freeze an enemy using either his cryo flask or his ultimate, you'll be able to see that target through walls for a short period of time. The passive description also mentions that frozen enemies have reduced resistance to fractures in operations mode. Based on the test server, this appears to increase the chance of breaking enemy bones by roughly 10 to 20%, although it's honestly not very noticeable in actual gameplay. In Warfare, N2 has a completely different benefit, reducing vehicle maneuverability, which could make him quite annoying to deal with for vehicle mains. Just see this clip and you will easily notice the difference. There's another important detail as well. N2 is completely immune to his own freezing effects. Enemy N2s can still freeze you, and their ultimate will still damage you, but your own cryo flask and freezing gas have no effect on you whatsoever. This allows you to move through your own utility without any penalties. Next up is his throwable ability, the homing stun grenade. Once thrown, it travels forward like a frisbee for up to 80 meters while bouncing off walls. If it detects an enemy operator within a 20-meter radius, it locks on for 1 second before automatically tracking and striking the target. What's really interesting is that the Chinese test server originally had this grenade dealing 40 damage on a direct hit while also slowing the target and blacking out their screen. That was quickly toned down, but the core mechanic remains the same. It now deals only 1 damage, similar to other non-lethal utilities in the game. In practice, the grenade feels much more like an intel gathering tool. Whenever it locks onto an enemy, you'll receive an indicator letting you know someone is nearby. So if you're unsure whether a room is safe to push, simply throw one in and see if it finds a target. The synergy with his freezing abilities is where things become really powerful. If an enemy has even the slightest amount of freeze buildup, the grenade will immediately reveal them through walls, along with distance markers. Even without freeze buildup, a successful hit still grants a brief wall reveal effect. Also, you can only carry 1 grenade at a time, but with a cooldown of just 35 seconds. His second utility is the cryo flask. You can store up to 2 charges, and each one takes 60 seconds to replenish. Once thrown, it instantly creates a freezing field with a 5-meter radius that remains active for 15 seconds. Anyone standing inside takes 12 damage per second while rapidly building up a freezing bar. As the freeze meter fills, movement speed becomes progressively slower, and after roughly 3 seconds of exposure, the target becomes completely frozen in place. Once frozen, the only way to break free is by repeatedly pressing your movement keys. Even if you do it perfectly, it still takes around 3 full seconds to escape. During that time, you're completely vulnerable and can still take full damage. In a real fight, that's absolutely devastating. You can't push, you can't retreat, and thanks to N2's passive ability, he'll be able to see you through walls for the entire duration of the freeze. The cryo flask has another interesting mechanic as well. It can freeze doors shut, forcing players to kick them open before they can pass through. Fortunately, there is a counter. Frozen surfaces and ice effects can be melted by fire-based abilities, specifically Uluru's incendiary grenades. Since Said is no longer available in Season 10, Uluru will likely become N2's biggest counter. The interaction works both ways too, as N2's freezing abilities can extinguish fire. In many situations, whoever reacts second will actually have the advantage. Now let's talk about his ultimate, the Frost Launcher. It has a 100-second cooldown and equips a launcher loaded with 6 cryo grenades for a limited duration. Each grenade explodes after a 2-second fuse, creating a 6-meter blast radius. A direct hit deals up to 25 damage and applies roughly 50% freeze buildup. That means landing 2 shots on the same target is enough to freeze them completely. What's particularly dangerous is that the launcher's fire rate increases the longer you keep firing, allowing you to rapidly blanket an area with cryo grenades. However, there are some drawbacks. The activation animation could make you vulnerable to aggressive pushes while equipping it. And once activated, a timer immediately starts counting down. If you don't use all 6 grenades before the timer expires, the launcher disappears, and the ultimate goes on cooldown anyway. And that's pretty much everything about the new operator N2. Personally, I think he's going to be incredibly strong in indoor fights while being much less effective in open areas. Moving on to the new weapons, let's start with the SVCH Marksman Rifle. On paper, it's actually pretty average in semi-automatic mode with fairly decent stats, but everything changes once you equip its special attachment. This attachment converts the weapon into a fully automatic rifle while keeping the rest of its stats unchanged. That's where things get really interesting. Originally, this weapon had 48 base damage and 47 armor penetration, although both values were later reduced by 1 during the testing phase. Even after the nerf, the weapon remains extremely powerful. It boasts an incredible fire rate of 760 rounds per minute, which is absurd for a weapon in this category. It also comes with a unique dual magazine system that helps solve its limited 20-round magazine capacity. Once one magazine is empty, you automatically swap to the second. Holding the reload button allows you to reload both magazines at the same time. In many ways, this feels like a straight upgrade over the M14. Next, we have the RM277. While its fire rate is roughly 100 rounds per minute slower than the M7, it makes up for that with higher damage and armor penetration. The RM277 currently sits at 41 damage and 42 armor penetration compared to the M7's 38 damage and 40 armor penetration. In practice, this gives 6.8mm users another powerful option to choose from, and could even help bring down the market price of the M7 a bit. One thing worth mentioning about this weapon is that it can equip both a stock and a cheek pad at the same time, giving it an additional layer of recoil control that most weapons don't have access to. The weapon performs exceptionally well at medium to long-range engagements, especially out to around 100 meters. That being said, I still think the M7 remains the stronger all-around weapon, particularly when using the Tidal long barrel. Next, we have the new HVK attachment for the Ash 12. This attachment completely changes how the weapon functions by turning it into a burst-fire platform that fires 2 rounds simultaneously with every trigger pull. It also comes with a built-in 30-round magazine, meaning you don't need to buy an additional mag. While the attachment slightly reduces the weapon's base damage, you're firing 2 bullets at once, which results in a massive increase to its overall time to kill. However, there is one major drawback. The rounds don't travel exactly where you're aiming. Instead, one bullet lands slightly above your crosshair, while the other lands slightly below it. Because of this, the weapon behaves almost like a shotgun. At close range, it's absolutely devastating, but once you start stretching the distance, landing both rounds consistently becomes much more difficult. So while it could dominate close quarters fights, it's going to struggle at longer ranges. Moving on, we have the compound bow. Season 10 introduces a new HVK attachment that allows you to load 6 arrows at once. Just comparing the fire rate side by side makes the difference immediately obvious. This attachment dramatically increases the bow's rate of fire, and should be a huge buff for players who have already mastered the weapon. Now, I already covered the new ammo types in my previous Season 10 balance changes video, but a few of them have received additional adjustments since then. The new CT ammo for both 9x19mm and .45 ACP has been nerfed. These rounds are essentially purple versions of the current blue RIP ammo, but they can no longer be stored inside your safe box. They also only provide bonus damage to limbs, unlike traditional RIP ammo, which increases damage against all unarmored body parts. On top of that, using CT ammo now increases both horizontal and vertical recoil, while also increasing ADS fire spread. As a result, these rounds become significantly less effective at range. Personally, I think these nerfs have brought them much closer to being balanced. That said, players can still bring a single stack of CT ammo, aim for the legs, and potentially walk away with someone else's gear, especially when using operators like D-Wolf. So the Rat playstyle is definitely still alive. The new 6.8 by 51mm polymer ammo also received a small buff. The developers removed the previous 5% damage reduction, which is certainly nice to see. However, the ammo still carries a 10% armor penetration penalty, meaning it remains weaker than standard 6.8 rounds in most situations. It has its uses, but I don't think it's going to replace the regular ammo unless it's super cheap in the global version. Finally, 2 brand new armor sets have appeared in the firing range. A new Tier 4 helmet and armor set, along with a new Tier 5 set. They look very similar to some of the equipment already available in the game, so my guess is that these could be rewards tied to an upcoming Season 10 event. For now though, we'll have to wait and see how the developers decide to introduce them. Now let's move on to the new operations map, Nuclear Power Plant, also known as AZ3. One of the biggest changes here is that the traditional free safe has been replaced with interactive puzzle safes. At the moment, there are 2 puzzle types available. The first is a wire connection puzzle. You'll see a code displayed in the top right corner, and your job is simply to drag the wire to the matching number on the console. It's pretty straightforward once you understand how it works. The second puzzle is even simpler. A sequence of 5 buttons lights up briefly, and all you have to do is memorize the pattern and press them back in the correct order. It's basically a quick memory game, and this must be familiar to you if you used to play Among Us back then. Currently, there are 7 of these interactive safes scattered across the map. Alongside them, the map also introduces radiation leak zones, which spawn randomly throughout the match. These areas are marked on the map with a special icon. The loot inside is usually good, but entering these zones comes with a risk because prolonged exposure increases your radiation level. Going from 0 radiation to level 4 takes roughly 3 minutes of continuous exposure, and it's not just the marked zones you need to worry about. Certain rooms can also randomly become contaminated during a match. Whenever you hear the Geiger counter clicking, it's a good idea to open your map and check your surroundings. Some radiation zones are fairly small, while others can cover a surprisingly large area. The interesting thing is that these leak zones often seem to contain valuable loot. During testing, keys were spawning in these areas quite frequently. Of course, this is still based on test server data, so things may change before release, but it would make sense for the developers to reward players for taking the additional risk. Since we're already talking about radiation, let's break down how the radiation system actually works. There are currently 4 radiation levels. Level 1 provides a search speed buff, allowing you to loot containers faster. You also begin seeing minor screen interference effects. At level 2, the screen distortion becomes more noticeable, and you can start suffering bleeding effects. Once you reach level 3, things become much more dangerous. You'll experience random dizziness, coughing fits, fractures, and other status effects that can interrupt movement and combat. Then comes level 4, where the real punishment begins. Severe fractures start occurring across multiple body parts, and the moment you enter level 4, you immediately lose 40 points of maximum health. Earlier versions of the test server reduced max health by 50, but the developers have since lowered it to 40. Still, if your remaining health is below that threshold, you can die instantly upon reaching level 4 radiation. Radiation isn't only gained from leak zones either. Certain contaminated loot containers can increase your radiation level as well. So how do you remove radiation? Fortunately, the map includes dedicated decontamination chambers. These locations don't appear on the main map, but they'll show up on your minimap once you're nearby. The process is extremely simple. Just interact with the control panel, wait for the chamber to begin spraying water, and step inside. Within about 5 to 10 seconds, the decontamination process is complete and you're good to go. The nuclear power plant map also contains a huge number of puzzles, secrets, and Easter eggs, so I'll be covering those separately once the global version becomes available. Next, let's talk about the new AZ 3-key system. These keys come in 3 different tiers: purple, gold, and red. Purple key rooms contain standard loot containers, gold rooms are guaranteed to have at least 1 small safe, and red rooms typically contain a large safe alongside a small safe or server. What's interesting is that opening purple and gold rooms can sometimes reward you with a higher tier key, so finding 1 key allows you to potentially open 3 keycard rooms. Another important thing to note is that key room spawns are randomized. In some matches, certain keycard rooms simply won't be accessible at all, which keeps players guessing and makes the map feel less predictable. The map also introduces 6 brand new container types, and I am not going to convert the names of these containers to English, as they will use different names in the global version anyway. While these new containers look fantastic, their loot on the current test server is honestly pretty average. However, there are also special supply crates that can randomly appear around the map, and these are absolutely worth checking. They're massive, difficult to miss, and contain much better loot. Think of them as upgraded versions of flight cases. Now let's talk about some of the unique mechanics found on the nuclear power plant map. First, we have what players are calling the Spray Soldier. This NPC can actually help reduce your radiation levels if he detects that you've been contaminated. However, the process isn't entirely free. When he sprays water, you'll lose a small amount of health during the decontamination process. You'll notice a corrosion effect appearing on your screen. Just be careful not to get too close to him. If you start crowding him, he'll respond with a surprisingly powerful kick. Then we have the Sprinkler Truck, which is one of the coolest additions to the map. This vehicle appears alongside 2 AI guards. Once you eliminate the guards, you can take control of the truck yourself. Before that happens, it'll spray you with its decontamination spray, but the damage is negligible. Simply move behind the vehicle, interact with it, and you'll gain control. This vehicle actually travels faster than a player on foot, and it will automatically move wherever you mark on the map. The commands have a limited range, so you can't send them across the entire map with just a single command. One marker tells it where to move, while a second command can be used to spray water at enemies. Finally, let's talk about the new boss, H-1000. This fight is a little different because you're actually dealing with multiple versions of the boss. The first enemy you'll encounter is H-47. He is extremely weak, goes down in just a few shots, and doesn't drop any loot. After defeating him, H-800 appears. He's slightly stronger than the first clone, but still isn't much of a threat. Just like H-47, he doesn't appear to drop anything either. Once H-800 is eliminated, the real fight begins. That's when H-1000 enters the battle, and unlike the previous two clones, this boss is significantly more dangerous than anything you've faced up to that point. H-1000 also comes with a unique ability. Using his anesthetic needle, he can put players to sleep for around 5 seconds, leaving them completely vulnerable. On top of that, he has a special execution animation similar to Raven's, so getting too close to him is a very bad idea. Once you defeat him, you'll receive a red tier AZ3 key that unlocks one of the high-value keycard rooms located on the upper levels of the core area. But here's the twist, the boss fight doesn't end there. Roughly 10 minutes later, a second wave can spawn. That's right, 3 more bald-headed clones can suddenly appear in front of you. So be cautious if you stay inside the second floor of the core area for too long. Of course, all this information is based on the recent Chinese test server, so we might see some final changes when it comes to the global launch. Next, we have the nuclear power plant's special flagship mission. About 10 minutes into the match, players can head to the second floor of the core area and activate it. I've already uploaded a separate video covering the entire mission in detail, and I'll be making another complete walkthrough once the global test server becomes available. During the test phase, the map featured 16 possible spawn locations, with up to 6 full teams spawning into a single match. The map itself is divided into 5 major regions. Since the power plant is classified as an easy mode map, there are plenty of extraction options available. Completing the flagship nuclear mission unlocks a special extraction, where you simply need to survive for a few minutes after finishing the objective. In addition, there are permanent extraction points located on both the eastern and western sides of the northern edge of the map. The standard extraction routes are also fairly forgiving. Players can travel along the main east-west roads and cut through the core area when needed. There are 4 bridges connecting the major sections of the map, making it much harder to camp bridges like in Space City. Once Season 10 officially launches, I'll be doing a full map guide covering everything you need to know, including loot routes, red item spawns, keycard rooms, Easter eggs, and all the little details that can help you make more money and get familiar with the map. Next, we have a couple of brand new red tier items coming in Season 10. The first is the reactor cooling core, and the second is the uranium sample. Keep in mind that these names may be slightly different in the global version. You'll also be able to use emotes in the lobby, giving you a few more ways to show off before jumping into a match. Another feature coming to mobile is the ability to see your own feet in operations mode. This was introduced to the PC and console versions last season, and now mobile players are finally getting it as well. If you own multiple melee skins, you'll also be able to randomize them. That means your melee weapon skin can automatically change every match, letting you enjoy your collection without having to manually switch skins after every game. We're also getting a new limited-time collectible called Cute Luna, designed around a soccer theme. You'll be able to find both gold and red variants throughout Season 10. And for players planning to complete the entire seasonal mission set, including all 7 Fate contracts and 6 collector missions, there's a brand new Ultimate Safebox skin waiting for you. This time, it comes with a meteorology-themed design, and if you own any of the Mandelbrick weapon skins for the K416, it'll match perfectly. Now let's move over to the warfare side of things. We're getting a brand new map called Colosseum, and it looks absolutely incredible. I'll bring you a full map tour in the coming days once we gain access to the global test server, but for now, here's a quick preview of the map. We're also getting a new anti-air weapon with a much faster rate of fire, and that's arriving alongside a new vehicle called the CSV-35, which is essentially a transport helicopter capable of carrying up to 6 players while still providing decent firepower. Season 10 is also introducing 3 brand new game modes. The first is a soccer-themed mode called Wind Chaser, where you can basically play soccer with your friends. The second mode is called Crazy Box, and it's somewhat similar to Gun Game. You start with only a knife, and every time you pick up one of these boxes, you're given a random weapon to use. This mode will be available starting August 7th. And finally, we have Ace Hunt, an 8 vs 8 aerial dogfight mode where players battle exclusively using fighter jets. It's the perfect place to practice your flying skills, improve your maneuverability, and master jet combat. This mode will become available on August 21st. Also, you will be able to burn stuff with Ularu's incendiary grenades and the flamethrower in Season 10. And of course, you can extinguish that fire with N2's freezing abilities. And we're also getting a ton of quality of life improvements this season. I'm not going to go through every single one of them because this video is already long enough, so let's move on to the cosmetic side of things. First up, we have the new Battle Pass. This time, the level 80 reward is a Wild West themed skin for Tempest. Some of you might absolutely love it, while others aren't too happy about it based on what I've seen in the comments. But lore-wise, it actually makes sense, as Tempest had a life like that before joining GTI. Next, we have the brand new melee weapon, Elegy. This time it's Race's signature weapon, and as usual it will cost 5,220 Delta tickets. Once it arrives on the global server, I'll bring you a detailed guide covering its damage, stats, and everything else you need to know. We're also getting the next Mandelbrick weapon skin, and this time it's for the AKM. Unfortunately, the AKM isn't receiving any buffs this season, and we're not getting any special ammo types for it either, so it probably won't become a top tier meta weapon. That said, the skin itself looks absolutely sick. For Turbrick weapon charms, we're getting a new clock-themed charm collection. Take a look at this clip and check out the different variants you can unlock. We're also getting an Ultimate Uluru skin on July 17th, although the developers haven't revealed the full design yet. For now, all we've seen is this teaser image showcasing his rockets. Next, we have the Rainbow Six collaboration. We're getting 3 operator skins, Vigil for Nox, Monty for Seneva, and Doc for Stinger. The best part is that you'll be able to unlock 2 of these skins completely for free by completing in-game challenges. The remaining skin is expected to be purchasable using Delta tickets and will likely cost around 2,500 tickets.
말보다는 행동이지.
鲁莽行事，将自食恶果。 I'll be there you need me.
记住，安全永远是第一位的。
Call if you need a hand.
On top of that, we're also getting the iconic Black Ice weapon skins from Rainbow Six Siege. 7 weapons will receive Black Ice skins in DeltaForce. 6 of them are split across 2 bundles containing 3 skins each, while the 7th skin is for the MP5, which you can claim completely free just by logging into the game on July 10th. You'll also be able to earn one of the 2 Black Ice bundles for free through in-game events, while the other bundle is expected to be available for around 2,400 Delta tickets. And finally, we're getting the iconic R6 drone as an interactive collectible in Season 10. The developers haven't revealed its rarity yet, so there's a good chance it could end up being a red tier collectible. Before we wrap up, let's quickly talk about some important security updates. Starting in Season 10, you'll now receive compensation for all the ammo and medical supplies you lose to cheaters. Technically, you won't get the actual items back. Instead, you'll receive the equivalent amount of Technic alloy covering their cost. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better than receiving nothing at all. The developers have also launched a new anti-cheat review program on the Chinese server. Qualified players can participate by reviewing gameplay clips and helping identify cheaters. To remain eligible, reviewers must maintain an accuracy rate of over 60%. The system is currently in beta, but once it's refined and fully tested, there's a good chance we'll see it arrive on the global version as well. I'll make sure to keep you updated when more information becomes available. And finally, they teased a new major game mode arriving in the near future, and they have already started the test server application for Chinese players, and the first test phase is scheduled to begin in early July, so we will receive more information regarding that very soon. And that's pretty much everything coming in Season 10. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more DeltaForce content. If you'd like to support the channel even further, you can use my creator code -DF in-game, or my Midas Buy creator link when purchasing Delta coins in the new season. I truly appreciate all of your support. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video very soon. Until then, take care and happy gaming.